Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. My name is Diego, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you guys about hatchling care for crested geckos. Now I think that a lot of people have already made this video. I personally do not watch a lot of YouTube when it comes to reptiles. I watch a few people, but I don't really get into all of their videos and I really just don't watch that much YouTube. So I'm not sure what other people are doing, but I think this video is probably done by a lot of people. Also, my friend Keaton at Necroscales wanted me to make this video, so here you go, Keaton. This is hatching care for crested geckos, made by me, Diego. Also, do you see this? Do you see this cute little thing here? And this cute little thing? That cute little thing there? We got new shirts, so that's pretty exciting too. We got some new merch that we might release, but right now we have only a few shirts. We did print more than just for us, but it's probably gonna be for friends and family. So if you like this shirt, maybe stay tuned and I could release it. I just don't really know if people are gonna buy it. I need to find a cheaper supplier because printing out these shirts are like $35. So like I don't really want to sell shirts for $40 and then that's too expensive and people don't buy it because I mean the quality is not the best. It's not the worst. It's 100% cotton. There's no polyester in this, which is good, but it's not the best. So I don't know. Maybe one day I could let them go. But anyways, let's talk about what you're here for, which is hatchling care on crested geckos. Taking care of crested gecko hatchlings is really not that hard. It is really similar to taking care of an adult, although I would not put a hatchling in a bioactive enclosure. Now, you can either take care of your crested geckos in a bioactive enclosure or a non-bioactive enclosure. Now, in the non-bioactive enclosures, you could do more kind of like a naturalistic with some soil and stuff, or you can also do just paper towels and a few other things like bark, fake leaves, or other things that might be real or plastic. And although usually bioactive and naturalistic enclosures are more enriching for an animal, crested gecko babies and many other babies of other different species for that matter are better kept in small enclosures that are properly sterile and don't have maybe soil or things that could contaminate and potentially make the gecko ill. I know it might sound a little bit weird that it's better for them to not be in an environment that recreates their natural environment, but the truth is, in New Caledonia, a lot of baby crested geckos die. That's probably why they're getting extinct. Although a lot of it is due to predation, not just because of, well, they didn't have what they needed, so they died. But I bet that some also died due to infections and parasites, or not being able to find their food, and many other things that you could avoid by giving them a simple enclosure. Now, this video is more focused toward how I keep my hatchling crested geckos. There's really no science behind it. There are things that you could, and there are things that you should and should not do, but there's also a lot of room for changes and for making your enclosures more personal and more to the way that you like it. This is the way that works for me. As I said this in a lot of videos, what works for me might not work for you, and what works for me might not be the best way of doing it. So this is the way that I have found how to do it, and this is the way that I think a lot of people do it. So I'm going to show you in today's video how a lot of people and me take care of crested gecko hatchlings. My personal preferred method is to keep them in tubs. Tubs are lightweight and they are easy to move and easy to clean. Also, the ones that I have are actually shoe boxes that have a front opening lid, so you can see through them and you don't really need to just grab a whole tub, open it, and then close it and then put it back. You can just simply open the door and close the door. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So I like these. You can buy 12 for I think anywhere from $28 to $38 on Amazon, depending on the quality and the supplier. I've bought 4 times the same 12 baby enclosures, and on the 4th time I got a different one that was like an inch smaller in all direction. That was an inch smaller in all dimensions. I don't really know why, but this really threw me off. I didn't realize because I didn't have them side by side. I put them in a different room. So I guess it's not horrible, but it's just weird. Like, what if one day I want to put them all together? It's going to look horrible. It's going to look really bad. But anyways, I think I'm going to upgrade my baby's enclosures in a couple weeks or months. So it might not matter in the future, but it's just, really, do you really need to give me a different dimension? But anyways, so yeah. However, these are really good for the most part. You can find them on Amazon for, like I said, $28 for a 12 count. There are a lot of different colors and styles and designs, so you can choose your own style and the one that you like the best. The ones that I have a big fat hole in the middle. I just cover that with tape and I drill a small hole, and then I pass a thread through the hole, which I tie a knot after the hole has been passed through. And then that way when you pull, it's not gonna fall, it's not gonna come off. So I made like 2 or 3 knots once the thread has been passed through the hole. and then that way it doesn't come off. And then I tape the hole with some clear tape on both sides. But yeah, aside from the enclosures, the care is really similar. A lot of people don't feed their hatchlings until a week after they have hatched because they first eat their shed, and then after they have eaten their shed, they look for food. So they're probably not going to eat if they haven't eaten their shed. Some people think that it's bad for them to eat something that is not their shed at first. I don't think this will be the case, but maybe it is. Maybe their stomach is not ready yet. I'm not really sure. But the truth is, even if you put some food in their enclosure, they're most likely not going to eat it until they have eaten their first shed. So it's really not something that I would worry about. I would not force any crickets in their mouths because maybe they're not ready for crickets. But if you put some food in there, you put a little bottle cap, you put some food in there, they're probably not going to eat it if they are not ready to eat it. And if they do eat it, they're probably ready to eat. So most likely nothing bad is going to happen. Once that first week has passed, I would start feeding, and you could even try to give them small crickets, pinheads, or eighth of an inch crickets. I think crested geckos should eat crickets and other bugs as babies. A lot of people don't give them any bugs, and that's probably why you get so many adults that are bad eaters, because they have never been introduced properly to crickets. Maybe when they are 5-10 grams, people start to feed them crickets, but they're most likely not going to have that feeding response that they would have if they have been fed since hatchlings. Now, I've made a tiny experiment to prove this. I wouldn't say that it's fully trustworthy. I don't have that many animals, and I haven't done it with that many animals. But animals from the same mom and dad, some of them I've grown out to 5 grams until I started feeding, and some of them I've just kept them with crickets live in their enclosures. Those that have been kept with live crickets in the enclosures are crazy eaters, and the other ones are okay eaters. I usually have to give them some of the liquid first, instead of just showing them the cricket with the tongs. But those that have been introduced to crickets earlier in their lives tend to eat crickets better. So I would. There's really no issues that could arise from feeding crickets that young. I believe that is a misconception. A lot of babies are really cricket or insect driven. I keep saying cricket, but I mean insects in general. But I'm probably going to keep saying cricket because it's what comes to my mind. A lot of Crested Gecko hatchlings are really insect driven, and I doubt that in New Caledonia they're going to go for a fruit which is less caloric than an insect. As babies, they need a lot of calories, they need to grow really fast, so they probably go for the crickets or insects and not as much as a fruit. So I don't think that a 2-gram Crested Gecko is going to be harmed by eating crickets. I think that it is good to feed them insects, crickets, I keep saying crickets, but yeah, insects. I think it is good to give them those, even young, even 2 weeks after hatching. They're gonna benefit from it. They're gonna grow faster, and they're gonna grow healthier, at least in my opinion. That's what I've seen. Don't be scared to feed insects to your Crested Gecko hatchlings. When it comes to misting, I would do the same thing than with the adults. Crested geckos require a period of dryness. You can't always have them in moist environments. You can't always have them at 60 to 80 or 100% humidity, because that's not good. That is most likely gonna develop mold, and it could lead to an infection. So they need a period of dryness, which could also help with the shed. You might think that it's always better for the shed to be humid so that it comes off easier, but many times, from what I've observed, when I give them that period of dryness, they tend to shed better and have less stuck shed. I think maybe it comes off easier in some parts when it's dry, and then when it's humid again, they can take it off properly fully. I'm not really sure how it happens, but from my own experience, I think that it's good for them to have a dryness period. You can't always have your crested geckos moist. If not, they could lead to infections, or it could even lead to some shedding issues from my personal experience. Plus, in New Caledonia, it's not always raining, it's not always humid. The humidity is not always 60 to 100%. There are cycles, and we need to try to imitate those cycles in captivity. The same way that the temperatures in New Caledonia are not always constant. They might change, maybe they're like 65 to 75, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But they're not always the same exact number. So that's why I also fluctuate my temperatures. Luckily or not, I have a house that is really poorly insulated and it does not hold temperature properly. So at night, it goes down to maybe 60, 65, and during the day, it goes up to 70 or 75, which I think is good for some animals. It gives them that cooling period that they need. A lot of people also freak out when it comes to handling Crested Gecko hatchlings. I don't think there's really anything to worry about when it comes to handling Crested Gecko hatchlings. I've heard people say that you can warm them up and kill them. I've never had this happen. It kind of sounds weird in my opinion. It might be true. I'm not going to say that it's not, but I've never had this happen. I've never been cautious with the temperature of my hands when handling them, but some people say that you could warm them up too fast and kill them or something like that. Honestly, I would call that BS, but I might be wrong. I'm not gonna say that I am right. I might be wrong, but that sounds like BS to me. But anyways, a lot of people are concerned about handling crested gecko hatchlings. It is true that I don't handle them for an hour. I handle them for 5-10 minutes, give them a couple of crickets, and then put them back in their enclosures. So maybe that's why I haven't killed anyone with my hot hands. But aside from that, it is true that they are more skittish, they are more prone to dropping their tail, they're not used to you as much as an adult crested gecko would. So you gotta be more careful when it comes to handling crested gecko. They're also smaller. You could harm them by squishing them, dropping them, and stepping on them accidentally or something. Be careful when it comes to handling, but I wouldn't say that it's bad to handle them. I've handled every single one of my hatchlings, even right out of the egg. I grabbed them with my hands and put them in their enclosures. I've never had an issue by doing this, and I don't think that you would have any issues by doing this either. I would give them a lot of hiding opportunities. They like to hide, give them some fake plants, some places to climb, like cork or bark or even egg cartons. A lot of people have been hating on egg cartons recently. I do understand why. I think they carry spores, and once you miss them, they grow mold incredibly fast. Maybe in less than 3 days, if the humidity is really high and constant, it grows mold. So if your humidity is really high all the time, do not give them egg carton. But as I said, I give them a drying period. I mist one day, the next day I don't mist, the next day I do mist. And that one day that doesn't get misted really decreases the rate at which mold and bacteria grow. So I would be careful with misting that much. And I would also be careful with carton things. The toilet paper cartons, those are also prone to growing mold. But I wouldn't be scared of them. Even when mold grows, 99% of the times that you see mold in your gecko's enclosure, the gecko is 100% fine and can and will survive to the mold. However, it is possible that you get a bad strain of mold that could wipe out your entire radius of, I don't know, 5 geckos, 6 geckos, I don't know. But I've never had that happen. I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen. Fuzzy mold is usually not a good thing, so I would get rid of it once you see it. And if you see that specific things get more moldy with time, I would start to not use them. I personally don't use any egg carton anymore. I only have some for my adults, but I'm gonna just get rid of it really soon. I'm starting to just use cork and bark because it's more natural and it doesn't grow mold that fast, or it doesn't really grow mold at all. It's just whenever they poop or spill some food, sometimes that molds. But it doesn't grow mold like a carton would. So yeah, I would stay away from those things, but you can use them if you have them and if you keep a close eye on what you're doing. A lot of breeders use it. I'm not going to say that they don't. And I'm not going to say that the breeders that use it are bad breeders. They just use different methods. And I'm sure that if they had crested geckos that die, they would stop using it because it is not sustainable to keep geckos if they're going to start dying. So you can just get rid of that and put a different thing. So it's not like it's the end of the world. Most of the times it's not going to kill it, but be careful. It's always good to be careful, keep an eye out on things, and make sure that things don't go wrong. Anyways, I think I have yapped enough. I think that you have already heard me talk for a while. Crested gecko hatchlings are really easy to care for. They're the same thing as an adult. To sum it up, in a nutshell, same thing as an adult, just do it more carefully. It's a smaller gecko. Don't feed as much, don't handle as much, and I don't know, just those things. Just same thing as this, but not as much, because it's the same thing as this, but a little bit tinier, you know? So it makes sense, honestly. Just in a nutshell, it's the same thing as an adult, but smaller. So yeah. Now, if you were to go bioactive, I would wait until the gecko is about 15 grams. And during those 15 grams, it should have been living in paper towels, in my opinion, with food that is easy to access, that it's closed, and in a small paper towel enclosure. After that, a 15-gram gecko could and probably should go into a more naturalistic enclosure where it can experience more enrichment, live a life that is more closely similar, and live a life that is more similar to that one that they live in the wild. However, babies are more finicky, they're more sensitive, and they are more prone to dying than the ones that are already 15 grams plus. So I would keep those in a more sterile and clean environment. But after the 15-gram mark, feel free to put it wherever you want, as long as it's not worse than the hatchling care. But put it in naturalistic or bioactive or something similar that can enrich their lives and give them that enrichment that is good for reptiles. But anyways, having said all that, that is all I have for today. I hope this video was useful, and if it was, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.